So here are 7 mistakes that beginners make when setting boundaries, and I've made all of them too. So let's dive in. Mistake number 1, which is setting boundaries from a place of aggression or defensiveness instead of a place of empathy or understanding. And I did that too. I was very happy when I first learned about boundaries, but at the same time, I was very angry because I was about to hit 30 and I feel like, why am I knowing this now? Why didn't I know this like 10 years ago? Why do I have to start setting boundaries now? Start telling people that I'm okay with this, I'm not okay with this, and then face all the, all that discomfort because you're doing something new and people are used to you being overgiving, taking benefit of you because you were ignorant before and you didn't know that there are something called boundaries. Of course, I knew that I wasn't comfortable with a lot of stuff, but almost I didn't realize that I was allowed to set something that is called a boundary, and that thing should be respected by other people. I felt validated, but at the same time, I felt angry and like I missed out a lot. And that could have been my personality, someone who already knew how to set boundaries and put people into place. And so I had a lot of anger. And that anger used to show when I communicate boundaries because people can feel the energy. If you are defensive, if you're angry, even when you don't tell them you're angry, they can feel that energy. And then when you have that energy, it's hard for you to choose the best words to communicate, the right time to even communicate those boundaries. And now, instead of you using the boundaries to improve your relationships, because as we said before in other videos, boundaries are not walls. And that is what I felt at the beginning. I'm going to set all these walls. I'm going to teach people how to treat me well. And for those that cross the line, I'm going to. The truth is, boundaries are bridges that help people who want to invest in a relationship with you to move closer to you. We set boundaries to help people understand how to treat us better. So that comes from a place of love, compassion, empathy. Like, imagine that you're going to a restaurant with your family or loved ones. The restaurant is amazing, the views are amazing, the service is good. You go and sit down, and then the waiter comes, and then you tell him, like, I have allergies on peanuts. Don't you ever put peanuts in the food? I don't like spicy food. Don't put spices in. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, the waiter is here to help you, to serve you better, and you declare that it's okay, but the way you deliver it is not okay. You should communicate that from a place of, oh, and yeah, by the way, I'm allergic to this. So, and or they can even ask you, like, sir, what are you allergic to? Or ma'am, what are you allergic to? Is there anything you want us to consider while preparing your dish? Maybe they will ask you, even, do you want your steak to be medium rare, etc. So they're asking you all those questions so they can serve you better. Same with boundaries. Think of them as you communicating them to people who you love, for them to be able to treat you better. And when they treat you better, then it is easier for you to have a better relationship. And I think that is the first reframing that I had to do in my mind, to be able to see it from that way and then have less resistance, less friction, less defensiveness when I'm communicating them. And then you can see the other person accepts them better from their body language, because the way you're communicating them, it's in a loving way instead of a angry way. So at the beginning of the times that I started setting boundaries, of course I didn't know how to set boundaries, and I didn't know that boundaries had to be clear, calm, and short. So I used to tell long stories of why I feel this way and why you should not do this and blah blah. And you know what that did? Nothing. Because when you do that, it feels like you are begging people to respect your boundaries, which maybe for people who love you and want to invest in the relationship, they will still try to work on it with you. But people who used to benefit a lot from you having no boundaries, those people will resist them. When you do that, you show that you're not confident about your boundaries. You're not sure if you deserve to have boundaries. You're not sure if people should respect them. When you communicate them in a short, assertive way, you tell people that these are my boundaries and these are not up for discussion. So always remember, the more you explain, the more room you give people to debate you, to challenge you, for you to change your mind and go back to that version of you that had no boundaries. So let's say, for example, that you have a big goal in this year 2026, and you're trying your best to commit to it by removing things that are not that important so you can focus on it. And then maybe your friends call you, okay, let's go out, let's have fun, and all of that. And you have already set a new boundary because you need more time to work on this thing that you are going to do maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks, that you'll be able to go with your friends. And the remaining time, you're going to focus on all the tasks you need to do to get that thing done. And now your friends call you like, tomorrow we are going to have a great time. Sarah, Iman, all those girls are gonna be around, and we're gonna have fun, and we're gonna discuss a lot of things that we wanted to discuss, blah 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 blah. And now it's time for you to communicate your new boundary, which is you've decided that you will be going out only once every 2 weeks. Now there's two ways you can do that. Number one is, I don't want you to think that I don't care and I don't have fun with you. I really do enjoy this time that we spend together, and I really want you to understand that. But I've decided for this 2026 that I want to work on this goal that I have. So I need to allocate more time to it. And that's why I will not be able to make it, and I will not be able to meet you guys as usual. But I'm open to meet you once every 2 weeks. Are you okay? I mean, like, I don't want you to get angry or be upset. Like, I really enjoy that company, and I don't want you to think that I don't care about the time we have and all blah blah blah. But that is the wrong way to set a boundary. You're telling a long story. Okay, maybe sometimes you need to express your point of view, but that's not when you're setting a boundary. You'll be like, oh, I'll be able to go out only once every 2 weeks because I'm allocating more time to achieve my goals. Period. Calm, short, and clear. That is how boundaries should be. So one of the biggest mistakes beginners make when they start setting boundaries is listing all their boundaries at once. My boundaries are 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11. I did that too, which is very wrong, and I will tell you why now. It overwhelms the other person. No one can memorize a list of rules of how to treat you all at the same time. And so the better approach is situational boundaries. And it means when something happens, a situation happens, and then you declare the boundary that is related to this situation. For example, you're in the workplace and your colleague starts speaking to you with a tone that you don't like, and then you just declare that I don't accept to be spoken to that way. Period. Now it's easier for them to remember the situation that happened and then the boundaries you have set. The boundary was delivered exactly when it was needed to. Let's take another example and say someone asks you for a loan, and that is the situation, and now you declare your boundary. Let's say, for example, that you don't lend money. So you say that I don't lend money to people, but I'm happy to help you in other ways, for example. So here also, the boundary was delivered when it was needed. So this method is effective because number one, it is connected to a real event, so it is easier to remember, and then it is easier also to hold someone accountable because something happened, you declare the boundary, so they are related. But when you start listing boundary 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, how can they memorize all of that? Harder for them to recall, like, what does even this boundary mean? Because when someone, let's say for the first example, when someone spoke to you with a specific tone or used some specific words, now they know that this words or this tone is not accepted by Sumaya. But when you just list them, they'll be confused. What words do you mean, or what tone do you mean? Most importantly, it is more acceptable socially. So you don't seem like a teacher who's listing the classroom rules to his student. It feels normal. Something happens, you declare the boundary. Another thing happens, you declare another boundary, and so on. And so, dumping boundaries all at once equals confusion. But setting boundaries when a situation arises equals respect and clarity. Mistake number 4 that beginners make when setting boundaries, and definitely I made it too, which is setting boundaries with no clear consequences. You see, we as human beings, we are motivated by two things. We are motivated by number 1, attaining a pleasure or escaping pain. And most people are motivated by the latter, which is escaping pain. And you can learn that from real life. You cross the Traffic light, when it's red, you pay a fine. You steal, you go to jail. You don't deliver in your work, you get fired. So these consequences make people perform and deliver and follow the rules. And so when your boundaries have no clear consequences, they become suggestions, not boundaries. So people that feel like following them and respecting them, they do. And people who don't feel like that, they have the ability not to, because you didn't set any clear consequence of what will happen if your boundary wasn't respected. Let's take an example. You have a sister who always borrows your dresses, but she never washes them before bringing them back. And then you have to wash them before using them. So sometimes you'll be like, I'm going to wear such a dress, but you see that it's dirty and you cannot wear it. So this is causing you inconvenience. And now you realize that you have to set the boundary. Let's say you set that boundary, and there's two ways that you can do it. The first way is just setting the boundary without any consequences. And you tell her, I'm okay with you borrowing my dresses, but only if you wash them before you bring them back. That is a beautiful boundary, calm, short, and clear. But your sister can still keep taking your dresses and bring them back without washing them. But when you say, I'm okay with you borrowing my dresses, but I need you to wash them before bringing them back. And if you don't, I will not borrow you my dresses anymore. So that's clear, short, calm, and most importantly, with a clear consequence. So let's be honest. If you were the sister, which boundary of the two would motivate you to wash the dresses before bringing them back? Of course, the second one, because there is a clear consequence of what will happen if that's not done. And I know it's very hard to start setting boundaries from the first place, then start setting boundaries while setting clear consequences. It's not easy. I've been there too. But I think my advice will be is first learn how to set boundaries, even if you don't declare any clear consequences, and then add the consequences part with people who disrespect the boundary or don't follow it from the first time. So maybe the first time you can say, I don't accept to be spoken to that way with your colleague, but then you notice they do that again, and then you add, I don't accept being spoken to that way. And if that continues, I'm leaving the conversation. So here is the clear consequence. And with time, the more you set boundaries, the more you learn which consequences are better for the type of the situation, and then also with what type of people to set what type of consequences. So it's gradual learning. Mistake number 5, which is not knowing that there are levels to boundaries. And I learned that, I think, maybe a year and a half ago, and I was like mind blown because I never knew that. Let's take some examples. So the first level is when you set boundaries with a soft tone and even with a smile. Maybe let's say you're a Muslim and someone invites you to a bar. So a bar is a place that you don't go because obviously you don't drink. In that case, it's an invitation that it can come from a place of maybe they don't know that you don't drink or that you don't go to bars or blah. So you declare that with a soft tone and even with a smile, saying, oh, thank you very much for the invitation, but I don't go to bars, but I'm happy to meet you somewhere else another time. So this is level 1. So the second level of boundaries is when you set it with a firmer tone and then with a serious face. And you use that when maybe someone knows the boundary but still keeps asking. For example, let's say that someone asked you for money before and you clearly told them that I don't lend money to people maybe that are not family, or I don't lend money, full stop. And then they ask you again. And so this time you have to be firmer and more serious and tell them, I don't lend money. And you use that firm tone and that serious face because you know that they know that is a boundary of yours, but yet they are still trying to test you and see if they can negotiate or make you change your mind. Number 3, which is when you set boundaries with a firmer face, with a very high voice, and then you can even shout. And that level of boundaries uses, for example, when someone who crossed the boundary before, for example, you declared a boundary many times, yet they still cross that boundary or overstep that boundary. You can also use it when someone touches you in a certain way that you are not okay with, and then that you have declared. And then you have to raise your voice and say, no, I told you that I'm not comfortable with that. And then the final level of boundary, which is distance boundary, setting a distance between you and the person, a person that you've declared your boundaries many times to, but refuse to respect these boundaries over and over again. And so the last resort is for you to set the distance boundary. It means that you set a distance between you and that person so they don't have access to you anymore. Mistake number 6 beginners make when setting boundaries, and definitely I made that too, is just setting boundaries one size fits all. And that is very wrong, because sometimes there are some boundaries that need to be adjusted depending on who the person is, what is your experience with them, and how much you trust their behavior. Let's take money boundaries, for example. Let's say your general boundary is I don't lend money to people who are not family. So anyone that comes that is not family, you don't lend money to. But now it doesn't mean that anyone who's family, you are going to lend them money. It depends on did the person take money from you before? Did they pay back? Can they even pay back? So you can, for example, set a limit for someone who you know that they will have a hard time paying you back. Like I can only borrow you maybe let's say $50 or $20. But with someone else that is also family, you can lend them let's say up to $500 because you know that they can pay it back because they have a history of paying you back whenever they ask for money. And then you know that they're employed, for example, so they can pay back. Unlike someone else who's not employed, and then you know that even if they wanted to pay you back, it will be hard for them. And so you lend them the amount you think they can pay back. And also, a very important thing is that boundaries evolve as you evolve. Sometimes things that you were okay with in the past become something that you're not okay with now, and now you have to set a new boundary for that thing. Or things that you were not okay with in the past, now you are okay with them. So now boundary doesn't matter anymore. So you just take away that boundary. So don't be hard on yourself when you notice that, oh, I used to care a lot about this, but now I'm okay. Or that used to be okay, but now I don't feel that I'm okay with, so I have to set a boundary. Always remember that you are allowed to update your boundaries. And that doesn't mean that you are inconsistent, but it means that you are evolving. Mistake number 7, which many beginners make when setting boundaries, which is telling their boundaries to everyone. And that is very wrong. Some boundaries are need to know only. I'll give you an example. I wouldn't say that I'm introvert, but I love me time. I love the time that I stay alone and draw, sing, and do all of those activities. So my me time is so fun to the extent that when someone asks me to attend, let's say a gathering or something, if I'm not going to have at least the same amount of fun I have when I'm alone, I tend not to go. And for me, it's just like some life principles. I don't feel the need to attend someone's wedding who I've only seen twice in my life. I wouldn't care if they don't attend my wedding, because like I feel like this type of, let's say, ceremonies are for people who you love and then who are close to you. So I would rather stay home, stay alone, and do something I love or work on something that means a lot to me than go to a wedding or a whatever ceremony and just stay there and sit and just look at people and be like, okay, because like when you go to those places, you don't have deep conversations. You just go there to like, that social obligation that, okay, they invited us and then we have to attend because of so. And I know that is a boundary for me. I only attend family weddings and then close friends' weddings. So any person who is not a friend or family, I'm not gonna attend their weddings. This is a new boundary of mine. And I've always shared it with few people because some people they just don't understand. And when you share, they'll be like,
Who does she think herself? Like she's so arrogant and blah blah blah.
it's okay that they don't understand because people are different. And for me, working on a lot of things that I love, running multiple businesses, multiple YouTube channels, I have to manage my time in an effective way to be able to do all of that. And so I have to say no to a lot of things. And this is one of the things I say no to. Sometimes, even when you have a boundary, not everyone should know it because some people they will not understand, or they will debate you and they will say, but you think, but you will still blah 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 blah, and it's just a waste of time and energy and they will never get it. So you can just apologize politely. I'm sorry, I would have loved to attend, but I'm very busy. I wish you a happy wedding. So stop. They don't have to know that you don't attend audience that elicits family and close friends. And so, not every boundary needs an audience because some are personal lifestyle choices, and only those who are aligned with your path will understand them. So, these are the 7 mistakes beginners make when setting boundaries, which I made all of them, and I made a lot more mistakes than these ones. Let me know if you would like to have a part 2 where I discuss other mistakes that beginners make when setting boundaries. And let me know in the comments which one of these 7 mistakes you made by writing the number down 1 to 7. See you in the next video.